Hello everyone, I'm Zeenat Firdaus. I have with me Dr. Sukant Khurana, who is a well-known entrepreneur, mentor, public speaker, and a scientist. I welcome Dr. Sukant Khurana.
Thank you, Zinat. It's a pleasure to be here.
We are seeing that a lot of people face a lot of difficulty in getting jobs even after they graduate. So, what do you think are the skills people are lacking for job readiness?
Excellent question, Zinat. I think there's several issues because they stem primarily from academic curriculum being outdated by 30, sometimes even 40, 50 years, and very poor industry, academia crosstalk. Real world skills are missing, and there are also um, other factors which are more about how society is structured, what kind of job incentives are there. I'm not going to go too much into it. But for highly competitive jobs in startups or multinationals, anywhere in the world, I would say there are 10, 11 things which people expect, independent of the branch you're going in. You could be a mechanical engineer, you could be a rocket scientist, but these things, especially when you're getting on the office part, I'm not saying necessarily on the engineering part or the legal part, these are needed. Number one is basic computer literacy skills, which can extend all the way to programming, but at least being able to operate computer, which includes knowing how to work on word processing documents, on tables, basically, which in most common one is Excel, creating PowerPoint. So basically, number one is computer literacy skills, which are needed. Second are organizational skills. So if you're basically going, let's say you've organized an excellent Zoom call, it could be organizing a team to do something. It could be organizing some field trip. It could be anything. Organizational skills are very important. Then third point is strategic planning and scheduling skills, because once you organize whether people are delivering, what's the right strategy, not just that you've done something because your boss asked. Being able to plan it properly matters. Time management is exceedingly important whether people are delivering on time or not. Then one of the skills which is often, quite often not taught is verbal and written communication. Those skills are exceedingly important. You can see the best CEOs in a company, in fact, the best politicians are often people who can speak really well, and some of the people who become statesmen write also well. I'm in different parts of the world where I have lived in United States, briefly United Kingdom and India. You can see the most famous statesmen were good writers also. Um, so you have this writing skill, which are very important, and verbal communication very important. Then is critical thinking ability. And I'll even go to the very far extreme of pointing out that, look, if you are poor or if you're going through horrible time, even somebody who's in my position with very high US education, I've gone through some horrible times in my life and gone through some personal tragedies. When you're going through a mistake, you keep doing more mistakes because you're in a vicious loop, whether that's because of economic, social, any kind of stress. So critical thinking is not something which is always on 100%, right? Like even a good baseball hitter would one day miss, or if we take analogy from India, like who's considered god of cricket, like Sachin Tendulkar, not every time he hits sixes. So critical thinking will always not be best, but having good critical thinking skills so that you perform more or less well is needed, and it's quite shockingly missing when you ask people to think through a problem. The other problem, which I'll say seventh point, in my opinion, is um, lack of quick learning ability. People take forever to learn. So people aren't taught learning how to learn, right? You can even think of it as a meta learning. The whole idea, how do you absorb a new thing? Recently, I was telling somebody who's same age as me and has founded some projects with me on how to go through something faster, because he was saying, how do I learn something that he didn't know or I didn't know? I learned it in 2 days while he was taking 20 days, right? So how do I process things faster? And I think we probably will score similarly on what the standardized tests of IQ are. So strategies to learn things rather quickly. Then is detail orientation. rather than trying to think in broad strokes, that where the habit is often to say that somebody gave them a broad direction or they came up with broad direction, and it so happens that people who aren't performing well, they lack detailed planning. As detailed as you can do, and as much as you can see in future, visualize your success, visualize your plan, visualize even failures, what can go wrong, right? And obviously, with all of this comes without saying, be brave also, which is, you know, to be able to execute anything. One critical thing, which is point number 9, is teamwork and collaboration. It's generally lacking where people are starving for resources. With the less resources, people pull each other down. There is an aphorism about how if crabs were from India, they didn't really have to put cap on the bucket, right? They didn't have to put a lid, because once one was rising up, the other would pull them down. So that tells you about the perception, and it's my opinion by and large true. Like, I had a collaborator from Ames, like hundreds of articles saying that nothing happened, people, like when I was at CDRI running with data, people cheating you of projects, various things, right? This kind of pettiness happens, but it has happened in a topmost institute in US also, where I've seen people and actually recorded them trying to destroy others things, because then they were starved of resources, whether they'll get jobs or not. Wherever there is plentiful, people are secure, more cultured, this doesn't happen. But teamwork and collaboration is an often missing skill and much needed. Another thing is professionalism and strong work ethics. In scientific institutes or even in corporate sector, I've seen people stealing pens, stationery. I've seen people steal much bigger amounts, crores of government grant. So that ethics is missing. I've seen bribery all too common. If somebody cannot attend a meeting, they would not inform you unless you point it out to them. So that basic professionalism is missing. We lack a language of sorries and thank yous almost everywhere. Wherever it's more common, people tend to do better. You can even ask, why does, while there are a lot of jokes in US about Canadians, while when they travel, they're one of the most liked people, they will apologize at the slightest mistake and they're extremely grateful. What makes for nice people um, are, is exactly the same thing which makes for nice employees. Last but not least is leadership, which is obviously a whole different discussion. What makes people good leaders? And that's not just technical things, that's not just personal things. It's a variety of things, which we can cover some other time. So these are things which are all lacking. And at IonCure, the 11 points we mentioned, we would like to train people in that. And the reason we are doing it is not simply out of goodness of our heart or charity. We train people in this, and they come work for us for projects. So that way they are job ready, and that way we benefit by getting work done, because otherwise, if we can hire 100 people, we can have thousands of people work with us on some of the most excellent causes, such as making the world aware of epilepsy, that it's not contagious, it's curable, that you should not put something in people's mouth, or working on Alzheimer's or Parkinson's. So by following a model of a mutual barter, where we are training people and they're working on live projects, we train people to be more job ready. That's one of the things that's been part of my dream, been part of my mission at IonCare.
Very insightful, Dr. Khurana. Thank you.
Thank you, Zinat.